Three spine-chilling true tales of sinister co-workers discover the haunted secrets exposed. Sarah sat at her desk, surrounded by the fluorescent glow that offered a false sense of security. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, entering yet another long string of data. To anyone else, this was just another day in the small suburban office of Maplewood, Ohio. But as the clock ticked toward evening, a chill crept into the air, and the essence of camaraderie among her co-workers felt more like a concealed snare. The first unsettling sign emerged when the office grew strangely quiet. What was once the cheerful noise of typing and laughter morphed into an oppressive silence that weighed on her chest. She could have sworn she heard whispers lurking around the empty break room. Unfamiliar, ghostly secrets coiled into her thoughts, making the mundane office feel like an ancient crypt. That night she stayed late, covering a shift for a mysteriously absent co-worker. The fluorescent lights flickered above her, casting eerie shadows that twisted across the walls. Papers rustled in response to her unease, sending icy fingers racing down her spine. Absent colleagues began haunting her thoughts, their belongings scattered ominously around her: unopened mail, a forgotten coffee mug, a half-eaten granola bar. With each step deeper into the office, the vibrations of dread reverberated, thickening until they felt like a choking fog. As the clock struck 8, the conversations she had once deemed harmless became riddled with veiled threats. The faces of her co-workers, once friendly, turned predatory, their casual smiles now hints of a shared secret that excluded her. It felt as though they were lingering in half-lit shadows, poised to pounce as she shuffled through the office, making her heart race, as if daring her to tumble down a dark rabbit hole she couldn't yet see. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she made her way through the darkened office, her breath quickened. A sudden noise startled her, a chair scraping across the floor. Her pulse thudded in her ears as she swung around, only to find nothing, the shadows once again consuming the light. But she felt it, those eerie eyes lurking, watching from every cubicle corner. Searching for a clue, she stumbled into a hidden back room. An assortment of unsettling trophies filled the room. Broken office supplies, personal photos, and eerie trinkets that belonged to previous employees who had vanished without a trace. The thick air enveloped her as if teasing, whispering of betrayal and a sinister game played under the veneer of office life. Panic gripped her as connections formed in her mind. Economic desperation manifesting in horrifying ways. Sarah's instincts screamed at her. This was a predatory environment. The walls seemed to close in, shadows crawling toward her, whispering tales of the next initiation. With sweaty palms gripping the edge of her desk, she finally understood. She wasn't just a working mother searching for stability. She had unknowingly stepped into a horrifying web of sinister secrets, a game where survival was not guaranteed. With a jolt, she realized she could be next. How do you escape an office when the very fabric of your livelihood is tethered to such dark, unfathomable secrets? As the fluorescent lights flickered one last time, she stood frozen in the darkness, heart racing as terror settled in. What awaited her was far worse than she could ever imagine. The fluorescent lights above buzzed erratically, their flickering casting ominous shadows that writhed like living things. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drum echoing in the suffocating silence. She blinked hard, trying to shake off the feeling that eyes were watching her from within the shadows, observing her every move with sinister intent. She cursed the tightness in her throat and the clammy sweat that drenched her palms. The backroom was a chamber of horrors. She had to escape, but how? The building felt like a labyrinth, each turn propelling her deeper into unknown territory. The door she had entered through now felt like it had melted away, swallowed whole by the darkness. No, she couldn't panic. She had to think. There had to be a way out. Her breaths quickened as she half sprinted through the dim corridors, each rustle a voice whispering dark secrets she wasn't meant to hear. As she turned a corner, bracing, she stumbled upon a line of photocopiers, their screens flashing erratically like bursts of lightning in the gloom. There she froze. One of the machines began to spit out paper, sheets flying wildly as if caught in an invisible cyclone. "Is someone there?" she called, her voice a trembling whisper swallowed by the silence. No answer, but she wasn't alone. Shadows danced and a figure materialized by the far copier, the silhouette of a man, tall and gaunt, with an unsettling smile that stretched too wide across his face. Her breath hitched. It was Marcus, the office joker. But this smile was different. It held a malevolence that made her stomach twist. "Sarah," he said, his voice smooth, dripping with an eerie calm. "What are you doing back here?" I was just looking for something," she stammered, heart hammering as she calculated her options. Marcus stepped forward, the dim light tracing the contours of his face, revealing not the once jovial co-worker she knew, but something darker, something hungry. "You shouldn't be out here alone. We were just talking about you." Her blood ran cold. "What do you mean, talking about me?" His smile widened. "You see, you stumbled upon our little secret. We can't allow you to leave with that knowledge." The truth shot like ice through her veins. Those missing co-workers, the trophies of their despair. It all clicked into place. Sarah backed away slowly, her mind racing to piece together an escape. "Listen, Marcus," she stammered. "I just want to go home. I'll forget everything I saw. Just let me go." He laughed, a sound that echoed like a bell tolling for the damned. "Oh, but it's too late for that. You're part of the family now. We can't have loose ends." Something twisted in her gut as memories of other late-night shifts seeped back. Teasing comments, odd glances. The whispers in the break room were a prelude to something far darker. "Please, you don't have to do this," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice as she looked for a way to escape. The shadows around them seemed to pulse, alive with sinister laughter, as more co-workers emerged from the obscurity. Faces familiar and yet distorted, filled with an unsettling glee. "Join us, Sarah," Marcus said, extending a hand, fingers curling as though beckoning her into the abyss. "We have so much to share." A primal fear gripped her. She turned and bolted, sprinting back the way she came. Heart racing, she ducked past blurred figures who now wore mocking smiles. The office that had once felt like a sanctuary now morphed into a nightmare of laughter and shadows. But the exits felt unreachable, each corridor slipping into darkness. Was there a way out? Would she ever escape the sins hidden within these walls? Her feet thundered against the floor, the chaos closing in. But as she dashed, she could hear whisperings behind her, drawing closer like a pack of wolves. And then she heard it, a voice dripping with amusement. "You're not going anywhere, Sarah." What lay ahead was hopelessness, perhaps even worse than what she'd discovered. In her heart she knew the real horror was just beginning. What awaited her at the end of the corridor? A truth that would shatter her very sanity, or would she find the courage to outsmart her co-workers and unearth their deadly secrets? Adrenaline coursed through Sarah as she pushed herself faster. The walls felt like they were closing in, the air thickening with dread, and the laughter of her co-workers echoing behind her. A twisted symphony of malice. She darted past flickering office doors, the glass panels reflecting nothing but her ghostly pallor. Every step was heavy with the weight of her panic, her mind racing for a viable escape. Where was she going? Each corner she turned felt like she was entering a deeper nightmare. The familiarity of her office transformed into a grotesque maze, each turn leading her farther astray. She needed a plan, a way out of this hell. Then she spotted what looked like an emergency exit sign glowing dimly at the end of the hall. Hope sparked within her chest, a beacon in the suffocating darkness. But just as she made a decision to head straight for it, a shadow emerged from her periphery, blocking her path. Now, Sarah," another voice hissed, softer yet more sinister than Marcus's. "Where do you think you're going?" It was Rebecca, her former mentor, her expression animated with the same disturbing glee as Marcus. Her eyes gleamed with an unsettling light, as if they had been fueled by something otherworldly. Sarah's throat tightened as memories of their conversations poured in, the kind mentorship mixed with the threatening undertones, the way Rebecca seemed to know far too much about her personal life. "Everyone knows you can't escape the family," Rebecca continued, almost gently, as if condescending to a frightened child. "You didn't think we would let you just walk away, did you?" Breathless, Sarah took a step back. I just want to leave. Please, I don't want any trouble." Rebecca tilted her head, the wicked smile distorting her features. "Oh, but we've gone to so much trouble for you. You're already entangled in our web. In fact, you might say that we've chosen you." The darkness seemed to pulse around them, the silence filled with the unholy air of anticipation. Sarah's eyes darted around for an escape route, anything to distance herself from this suffocating encounter. With a sudden burst of desperation, she pushed past Rebecca, startling the woman as she made a break for it. The flickering lights buzzed more violently as she stumbled down the corridor, heart pounding like a war drum. She didn't dare look back. Her feet flew over cracked tiles, breath tearing from her lungs like a wild animal. The emergency exit loomed closer, a delusion of safety. As she reached out to grasp the handle, it flew open. Marcus stood there, grinning wider than before, flanked by their twisted co-workers who seemed to melt out of the shadows. A web of unspeakable tension held the air still, their collective laughter sending shivers down Sarah's spine. "Did you think you could leave us?" Marcus crooned, his voice low and serrated. The friends she had known and trusted were now monsters stitched together by shadows, flickering with the light of their cruel intentions. Sarah stepped back, fear gripping her more tightly than ever. "You're all insane! This isn't a joke!" "Insane?" Marcus echoed, tilting his head, feigning offense. "This is freedom, darling. We're liberating you from your mundane worries. You'll learn to love it here." "What do you want from me?" Sarah cried out, desperation clawing at her. "Everything," Rebecca whispered, and another round of unsettling laughter erupted. As reality closed around her, dread filled her eyes. She was enveloped in darkness, a sinking feeling that she would never escape. Drawing in a shaky breath, Sarah's final shaft of hope spiraled into despair. She was trapped in a web of laughter, where every twisted face promised eternal entanglement. Just as she thought all was lost, a bizarre truth emerged from the darkness. What if the key to her survival lay not in fleeing, but in whatever nightmare they wanted her to join? With that thought echoing in her mind, the clock ticked ominously. Would she dare to confront their sinister secret and fight back, or would she succumb to the madness? In that moment of paralyzing uncertainty, the shadows charged forward, their intent clear. The question lingered in her mind. Could she uncover their true nature before it was too late, or would she become just another lost face in the crowd? The laughter echoed, bouncing off the walls in erratic rhythms, while Sarah stood paralyzed between the familiar and the grotesque. Her heartbeat was a frantic drum, drowning out reason, as shadows stretched towards her, fingers like tendrils of smoke, grasping hungrily. The warmth of desperation turned icy cold, and a chill crept down her spine. "Join us, Sarah," Marcus teased, his voice laced with a sickly sweet charm. "You were always so special. You're meant to be part of something bigger." The ferocity of their gaze sent waves of nausea rolling in her stomach. She wrestled with the urge to fight. Could she claw her way back to normalcy, or was she destined to unravel in this nightmare? Her instincts screamed to run, but the exit was barricaded by the unholy congregation of twisted faces. "What if I refuse?" She dared to spit, horror mixing with a flicker of defiance. Rebecca's smile widened, revealing sharp teeth that glimmered unnaturally under the flickering lights. "Oh, darling, refusal isn't an option. You see, we've invested too much in you. And it's not just about loyalty. It's about survival." What could she say? The words hung in the air like smoke, mixing with the tension that coiled tightly around her throat. Survival. "Your survival," Marcus clarified, stepping forward with an eerie glee that sent an electric pulse of fear through her. "This is a choice, Sarah. Join us or face the consequences. We won't let you walk away, and trust me, things will only get worse." A forgotten memory flickered through her brain, Rebecca's chilling warnings about the office environment. "You think you're safe here? You're nothing without the family." It all fell into place now, a puzzle she wasn't ready to solve. The sinister importance of team bonding, of trust. It felt like chains binding her to them, coated with the slickness of lies. Without thinking, she turned to flee, but the walls of the office morphed around her, and the corridor extended impossibly, a cruel twist of fate. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," Rebecca hissed, her voice slithering through the air. Fear began to warp into something else, something darker. She twisted, looking for an escape, searching for a window, a vent, anything that would lead her away from their grasp. Adrenaline drowned out clarity. She bolted down the hall, aiming for the nearest corner. The laughter sharpened, echoing ominously behind her. She could hear Marcus and Rebecca's footsteps gaining ground, a rhythmic chase designed to break her spirit. "Sarah, come back! We just want to help you!" "Help!" she gasped, barely able to keep up her frantic pace, the words tinged with panic. "You're monsters!" As Sarah turned abruptly, she crashed into a closed door. The impact jarred her, and she stumbled backward, falling hard against the floor. Dazed, her gaze locked onto a window, an ordinary glass pane revealing an unordinary sight. Outside, the world appeared untouched, a bright canvas contrasting her murky reality. Yet she couldn't hear a sound from it. No cars, no people, just silence. "Help me!" she screamed, her voice breaking, desperation clawing up her throat like a wild beast. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by a heavy stillness that pressed against her chest. Had they fled? Was her small cry finally heard by the unaffected world outside? But as the quiet stretched, dark anticipation returned, and her heart felt like it would pound out of her chest. In that haunting stillness, the cries of the others arrived suddenly, muffled but panicked, swept away by the currents of dread. The feeling of being watched crept over her, an unshakable sensation that surged beneath her skin. She was not alone. The world tilted. Then she saw it from the corner of her eye, Rebecca summoning shadows, weaving them into grotesque shapes dancing just beyond the doorframe. Sarah's stomach clenched. "Join us, Sarah," Marcus's voice echoed in her mind, soft yet suffocating. "There's no escape from the family." As the shadows advanced, drawing nearer, she faced a decision, a moment that could change everything. Could she rally her strength to break free of this chaos, or would she willingly walk into the heart of the darkness? The door creaked open slowly, inches away, as the twisted faces loomed closer. But just before she made her move, the world shifted again. Something glinting in the dim lighting caught her eye. A metal object, a weapon of sorts, lay just beyond her grasp. Would it be the key to her freedom or her end? As the door swung wider, she felt both hope and dread surge in equal measure. Which side would she choose? Sarah's heart raced as time seemed to stretch in that single moment. The shadows converged, their whispers rising like a chorus of malevolence, drowning out her reason. She scrambled toward the glinting object, her fingers trembling as they closed around the cold metal. Hope ignited a spark within her, but dread loomed like a dark cloud. It was a letter opener, its blade sharp and menacing. She could feel the weight of it in her hand, a tiny weapon against the encroaching terror. But was it enough? Would a mere tool of the office help her fight back against predators with hunger glinting in their eyes? As the door creaked open further, Marcus stepped into her line of sight, grinning with a feverish intensity. His eyes darkened, revealing more than just a warped soul. They pulsed with an otherworldly hunger that sent ice through her veins. Now, look at what we've found," he purred, tilting his head as if captivated by her resolve. "Stay back," Sarah shouted, her voice stronger now, though it wavered like the flickering lights overhead. Her hand clutched the letter opener, a lifeline in a realm twisted by fear. Rebecca slipped through the doorframe gracefully, her movements deliberate and predatory. "You think you can fight us?" she laughed, a sound that curled like smoke in the air. "You don't even understand the game you're playing." The shadows behind them pulsed, shifting in rhythm, ready to pounce. Familiar faces began to emerge from the gloom, colleagues she once knew, their features contorted with anguish or blissful insanity. They watched her, vacant eyes reflecting unholy desires. It felt like looking into a graveyard of their humanity. Sarah felt bile rise in her throat. Why? Why me? The question escaped before she could swallow it back, and it hung there like a dagger poised to strike. Marcus stepped closer, his presence suffocating. "Because you are a glimmer of light in our perfect dark," he whispered. "You have the potential to thrive or to be consumed. The choice is yours." Her mind spiraled with the weight of those words. This wasn't just survival, it was a damnation wrapped in a promise, a lure into a world where darkness reigned. The reality of her situation crashed down, almost suffocating her. She needed to escape. The letter opener felt warm in her hand, a strange contrast to her icy thoughts. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of defiance, of her refusal to surrender to the twisted design of the so-called family. "I won't join you," she spat, her voice laced with every ounce of defiance she could muster. His smile faltered, then darkened. "Then you'll see how much we value loyalty." As if conjured by his command, the shadows lunged forward, and she felt the air shift. The once tangible world began to warping and twisting around her. The door behind her slammed shut, reverberating like thunder, sealing off her escape. The shadows closed in, and Sarah's instincts kicked in. She swung the letter opener wildly, adrenaline pumping through her veins as she fought against the tendrils that reached for her. A scream tore from her throat, resonating with primal fear, the sound weaving through the chaos. And then an explosion of light erupted in the darkness, forcing the shadows to recoil. Sarah gasped, temporarily blinded. A flash. Was it a vision? Reality twisted in nauseating ways, but she had a moment's respite. As her sight cleared, she saw something she'd missed in her panic. A shimmering figure stood among them, neither friend nor foe. Its features were ethereal, distorted like a reflection in a puddle of water. It pointed toward a hidden portal, a way out through the seemingly solid wall behind her. But before she could decide, the shadows surged again. Her heart thundered, and the air grew thick with threats and promises of despair. Would she risk the unknown for a chance to escape, or gamble everything on a fleeting chance that felt almost supernatural? The shadows shrieked, echoing with rage. Her pulse raced with the weight of her decision, the unseen weight of consequence anchoring her feet in place. Something was coming. She could feel it. With a final glance at the opening, open and promising yet cloaked in mystery, her resolve solidified. But as she took a step toward the light, she felt the cold grip tightening around her ankle. What was it going to take to break free from this nightmarish family? A final choice hung in the balance, and time began to slip away. The grip around Sarah's ankle felt like ice, freezing her in place. Panic surged through her, claws of terror digging into her chest. She twisted her body, trying to see the source of the coldness, but the shadows surrounding her became a living thing, a mass of swirling darkness with no distinct shape. The pulsating mass throbbed with malice, eager to drag her into its heart. With every ounce of strength, she yanked her leg free, the sudden motion sending her tumbling sideways. Her body slammed against the wall, and pain shot through her. She blinked hard, fighting to push away the haze that threatened to swallow her whole. The shimmer of the portal flickered, wavering like a mirage. It was now or never. "Make your choice, Sarah," Marcus taunted, his voice low, almost musical in its cruelty. "But remember, you can't outrun fate." The shadows recoiled, a grotesque dance of limbs writhing around her, but the portal beckoned, radiant and smooth against the jagged edges of the nightmare surrounding her. The shimmering figure shimmered again, its expression obscured, but the urgency clear. Could she trust it? Was this escape or another trap? Reason fought with instinct, but before she could second-guess herself, she lunged for the opening. The letter opener felt heavy in her grip, but it was also a shield against the darkness. Her heart pounded thunderously in her ears, drowning out the shrieks of the shadows as she dove through the portal. Everything spun. Colors twisted together in a horrific whirl. She was yanked through time and space, a pinball between realities. Then just as fast, she was expelled into a cramped, dimly lit room. She gasped for breath, the stale air thick with dust, and glanced around. Empty, save for a single flickering light bulb dangling from the ceiling. The silence wrapped around her thicker than the darkness she had left behind. Was she safe? The terror clamoring in her heart said no. But she awoke to reality. This was a new hell. She pressed her back against the wall, peering through the cracks of despair. Her mind raced, scanning for signs of her former colleagues, or worse, creatures they had become. Where was the portal leading? Was it just a brief respite before the storm returned? Suddenly she heard scuttling sounds. Her body tensed, every nerve ending sparking with fear as shadows threatened to spill into this space. She'd escaped one nightmare, only to find herself in another. Quick glances revealed nothing but peeling paint and broken furniture. But a familiar voice echoed faintly, reverberating off the walls. "You thought you could escape. We are everywhere." It was Rebecca, her voice oozing with predatory glee. Cold fear gripped Sarah again as realization washed over her. The shadows weren't just lurking in the other room. They had seeped into this world as well. "Sarah!" The voice continued, rising again like a whispered plague. "Join us. You don't have to fight. Just embrace the dark." She could feel the shadows creeping closer, their intentions gnarled like vicious vines, choking the last roots of her hope. Her heart raced, visions of her old life flashing before her eyes, laughter in the break room, the hum of the copy machine, the safely mundane. But everything she once knew was now tainted. Escape was just another illusion. A chilling realization washed over her. There was no safe place, no refuge from the horrors that had become her family. What had she become a part of, and how deep did this darkness run? Suddenly, the door creaked slowly open, illuminating the corridor beyond, where the shadows birthed something new. A choice still loomed ahead of her. Would she confront them, weapons drawn, or fall back into the safe arms of the darkness to protect herself? Before she could decide, hands reached out through the light, beckoning her to step back into the abyss. She took a deep breath as the decision loomed large in her mind. What awaited her on the other side? The hands stretched toward her, fingers long and spindly, as if they had been pulled from the shadows themselves. They beckoned her closer, their grip promising warmth, but Sarah could sense the chill emanating from them. The voices rose in a whispering chorus, a serenade of despair, urging her to forsake the last vestiges of her former self. "Join us. It's easier this way." Every instinct screamed to run, to flee from that hauntingly familiar tone of Rebecca's voice. But in the flickering light, shadows flickered with her. They pulsed, wiggling and slithering as if alive. As they drew in closer, the tang of fear pooled heavy in her throat, leaving her gasping. "No!" She backed up, crowding against the wall behind her. "I won't join you!" Her voice cracked, trembling against its own defiance, but even as she claimed her will, doubt thudded in her chest. What choice did she have? The shadows thrummed, angry at her resistance. A wall of energy surged, filling the cramped space with a palpable tension. With a primal scream, Sarah clutched the letter opener, its metallic grip grounding her amid the storm of whispers. The corridor outside pulsed, shadowy figures moving in an indistinct dance. From the light pouring through the door, she glimpsed monstrous shapes creeping closer, blurs of former co-workers no longer bound by flesh and sanity. The fear tightened painfully in her stomach. Fighting against the gnawing dread, she edged forward, heart racing. Maybe there was still a chance to escape. She had to know what awaited her through the door. Pushing the door slowly, she felt the handle ice cold against her palm, a chilling reminder of the souls haunting it. The threshold cracked open, spilling a dim light into the grim room. Just beyond the door lay her old office, all too familiar, yet profoundly altered. Desks were overturned, chairs flipped, litter scattered like confetti after a dark celebration. The echoes of the past pressed in on her. She stood frozen, half in, half out. Sarah. They promised safety with that soft, insistent drawl. "You don't belong in the light." Suddenly, Rebecca's shadow surged forward, twisting eerie outlines into grotesque forms, breath like frost on her skin. "Life is easy in the dark. You've seen what's become of us. Embrace it." With her heart hammering, Sarah stepped into the corridor, the weight of ice-cold darkness wrapping tightly around her. Where was her way back? Screams echoed in her ears. Visions of dread quaked through her veins. She leaped from the threshold, racing down the office, chasing fleeting images of escape with swift, frantic breaths. But the shadows chased her relentless, her mind spiraling with fear. "Join us, Sarah! You can't outrun what you are!" Each footfall echoed louder than the last, their mocking laughter trailing. A breath caught in her throat as she stumbled into the break room. Old habits clashed with the horrifying reality. The place where they once shared stolen joys now turned rancid. The fridge was open, its contents shattered and seeping foul scents. A half-empty coffee cup, still steaming, stood eerily on the table, perfectly untouched. A chill raced down her spine as she turned back. The shadows surged in, gaining ground, murmurs swirling like storm clouds. This was about survival now, about choosing between darkness and whatever fragmented light she could find. Desperation clawed at her. She couldn't let despair lead her. With a surge of adrenaline, she sprinted for the exit. But the door slammed shut before she could reach it. A figure blocked her path, Rebecca, eyes wild, filled with a predatory hunger. "Why fight it, Sarah?" she hissed, shadows entwining her like tendrils. "You could be free!" With nowhere left to go, Sarah stood, trembling, caught in the snare of her own choices. Shadows pressed around her, claws scraping at her skin, promising her everything and taking away life. In that moment of choice, she blinked into the darkness. Before she could respond, another figure loomed, emerging behind Rebecca. This one was different. Radiant, shimmering like the portal she had fled. "Choose wisely," it called to her, its voice thrumming with hope. Fear gnawed furiously. Was freedom just an illusion once more? Driven by terror, her instincts screamed for clarity. With a surge of will, she raised the letter opener, ready to defy fate. What was she willing to sacrifice to reclaim her life? The shadows pulsed, their hungry whispers swirling around Sarah like a tornado. She felt moisture bead at her temples. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out Rebecca's hiss with rising panic. The shimmering figure behind Rebecca beckoned to her, a silent promise wrapped in hope. But the darkness held tight, a vice pressing in on her will. "Choose!" Rebecca's voice shattered through the chaos, a bitter laugh slicing through the air. "You believe in miracles. You think it's real." Sarah's grip on the letter opener tightened. She could feel its cool metal biting into her palm, her only weapon against the entrapment looming closer. With one desperate glance at the radiant figure, she asked, "How? How can I trust you?" "You'll have to be brave," it replied, voice steady and warm amidst the coldness. "The light will always guide you back." But Rebecca lurked, an embodiment of all Sarah feared. "Brave, you need to let go. Embrace this power. It's intoxicating. Join us and feel free." Her arms flung wide, dancing with shadows that flickered, taunting Sarah with visions of lost joy and camaraderie, fragmented yet deliciously inviting. As the darkness roared around her, Sarah stumbled back, almost tripping. She could hear the soft chittering of lost souls caught in Rebecca's web. They were friends, family, laughing in the golden glow of the past, now twisted into grotesque forms. Their laughs turned to wretched moans, calling her to join their ranks, to let the shadows bind her whole. Not wanting to dwell, she thought of her old life, a world bathed in sunlight, full of laughter that felt so far away now. "I won't! I refuse!" she shouted, taking a single step toward the light. The shadows pulled back, as if recoiling from her resolve. Rebecca's eyes flared, sharp and predatory. "You think you can escape. You will suffer, Sarah, just like the rest." In that moment of defiance, Sarah felt it, the flicker of a plan igniting to life. She spun away from Rebecca toward the radiant figure, but the shadows lunged. Cold fingers grazed her arm, ice needles penetrating through fabric, tightening. Sarah gasped, instinctively slashing with the letter opener. She felt a satisfying resistance, heard a shriek that was both familiar and alien. The shadows wailed in protest, rippling like a disturbed pond. Yet even as she fought, the creature rushed back in, pressing closer, fingers pulling at her with a maddening caress. She needed to reach the light, the allure of safety, of warmth. With every ounce of courage she hurled herself toward the figure. It glimmered like the dawn, palpable and pulling her in. "Trust me," it repeated, urgency thrumming in its tone. As Sarah lunged forward, half believing she might reach it, darkness exploded in a cacophony of rage. The shadows howled, a furious symphony drowning her. She felt hands grabbing her ankles, pulling her down, dragging her back. Panicking, she fought, thrashing wildly. "No, I choose the light!" As if responding to her cry, the figure surged forward, enveloping her in a cascade of color, an explosion of brilliant, warm radiance. For a heartbeat, she felt weightless. But then a vice-like grip dug into her throat. Rebecca had lunged, nails inches from her skin, face contorted in fury. "Don't let them take you, Sarah," the radiant being echoed again. But the shadows swirled darker, swirling thicker, muting the light, drowning out hope. As Sarah's breath quickened, she knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. But could she withstand it, or would she lose herself forever? With terror-stricken resolve, she yelled, "I won't give in!" But then a chilling silence fell, punctuated only by the pounding of her heart. Would the struggle for light consume her completely, or was there still a way to escape the grasping tendrils of darkness? The moment the silence enveloped Sarah, it felt like an echo of every fear she'd ever known, amplified 1,000-fold. Her heart raced, each thump a frantic plea for survival. The grip on her throat tightened, slicing into her resolve. Rebecca's laughter faded into a low growl, reverberating through the shadows, and Sarah could feel the weight of despair settling on her chest. She had to act. Gathering whatever strength was left within her, she pushed against the pull of darkness. "I choose light!" she screamed, the words spilling from her lips like a mantra. The radiant figure flickered behind Rebecca, glimmers of warmth breaking through the shroud of despair. But it was fleeting. The shadows surged back, a dark tide rising relentlessly, lapping at her ankles, clawing up her shins. Sarah kicked out wildly again, her letter opener slicing through nothing but darkness. The creature's grasp shifted, turning from her throat to her legs, wrestling her down with unrelenting force. Somewhere deep inside, she could feel that promise of light starting to dim. "Foolish girl!" Rebecca's voice sliced through the air, venomous and filled with glee. "You really think you can escape?" With every word, the shadows pulsed, morphing into a monstrous wall, pressing in on her, thick and suffocating. But Sarah remembered the moments of joy, the sunbeams bouncing off her childhood home, the echoes of laughter from family gatherings. Those memories were like shields, fortifying her. She felt warmth, a flicker of hope igniting inside her chest. Beneath Rebecca's wrath and the encroaching shadows, Sarah screamed into the void, "You're wrong! I won't be yours! I am stronger than you think!" The shadows hesitated, just a heartbeat, but it was there. With that flicker of confidence, she lunged again, this time not toward the radiant figure, but straight at Rebecca. The letter opener danced in the air, a glint of silver slicing through the darkened haze. Rebecca recoiled, disbelief flashing across her face. "You cannot harm me!" she hissed, but Sarah pressed on, desperation fueling her movements. She felt the weight of 1,000 souls sliding along her skin, urging her forward. In that sickening moment, a sharp pain pierced her shoulder. A shadowy tendril sank into her flesh, and she gasped, the cold bite of despair choking her resolve. "No!" she shrieked, twisting with all her might. She felt the metal press against flesh, and then it broke through. Rebecca screamed, a sound that spiraled up into anguish, echoing off the walls of darkness. The shadows wavered as panic flickered in their depths. With newfound determination, Sarah dove again for the luminous figure, thrusting herself into the light. This time she could feel the warmth surrounding her like a cocoon. The shadows shrieked, hissing and howling in furious protest. "Embrace the darkness!" Rebecca screamed, her form twisting in agony. "You cannot resist!" But Sarah didn't stop. She pushed forward, the radiant figure holding out its arms, solid and bright. It was close now, so terribly close. She could feel the pull of the light, its vibrant energy filling her senses. Suddenly the darkness recoiled, pulling away, but still clinging to her in a desperate last attempt. It was a moment, or maybe it was an eternity, where Sarah felt the full weight of the shadows against her, pushing her back from the warmth. The figures of her past whispered clarity amidst the chaos, and she turned her focus inward. "I will not be afraid," Sarah yelled fiercely. "I choose to live." With an explosive surge, she broke free from bloodied fingers, crashing into the light of the figure, and then everything went white. As Sarah lost consciousness, she knew one thing. This wasn't the end. A chill rushed past her, before the world faded. What came next? Would darkness find her once more? Sarah awoke to a soft glow. It filled her senses, warm and inviting. As her eyes adjusted, she found herself in a small, sunlit room. Cracked walls were painted in soft pastels, and colourful curtains danced gently in the breeze. The scent of fresh coffee floated in the air, more comforting than anything she had imagined. Blinking away the remnants of her nightmares, she took a moment to collect her thoughts. Had it all been a dream? The horrors of the office, her twisted colleagues, They felt so real. She pulled herself up, feeling the coolness of the tiled floor against her bare feet. The memories flooded back, heavy and suffocating. Marcus, Rebecca, the hunt, the shadows that whispered her name. Heart racing, she swung her legs over the edge of the bed, which was surprisingly comfortable. But could comforts hide the reality of the darkness she'd escaped? She padded toward the window, drawn by the warm light. Peering outside, she gasped. A vibrant garden bloomed outside, a riot of colors, flowers blooming and trees dancing in the soft breeze. Moments passed as she watched butterflies flit through the air, their delicate wings shimmering in the sunlight. The world felt alive, bursting with the laughter of children playing nearby, complete with echoes of joy that felt far away from her haunted past. It was beautiful, yet doubt crept back in. This couldn't be real, could it? "Sarah?" A soft voice broke through her reverie, gentle yet filled with concern. It was a woman, standing in the doorway, exuding a peaceful aura. Her grey hair framed kind features, and she smiled knowingly, as if she understood the tempest of emotions roaring within Sarah. Who are you?" Sarah's voice came out shaky, still grappling with the tangible remnants of fear. "I'm Anna," the woman replied, stepping into the room with grace. "You're safe here, I promise." "Safe?" The word felt foreign, as though she hadn't uttered it in 1,000 years. "But I was trapped. They were going to—" Anna nodded slowly, raising her hands in a soothing gesture. "You faced darkness, my dear. But you found your strength, didn't you?" "Strength," Sarah repeated, examining the woman's face. She felt a flicker of something within her. Courage, perhaps. But the shadows. Why can't I remember clearly? "You broke free," Anna explained gently. "You took a leap of faith into the light. It was an excruciating choice, one that many do not survive. You've been through a lot, but this place, it's a sanctuary, a second chance. Will they come for me again?" Sarah's voice trembled, the shadows of her colleagues lingering in the recesses of her mind. "No," Anna said firmly. "Not here. You've closed that chapter. Those shadows only exist in their twisted realm. You're free to write your new story now. You belong in the light." A weight lifted from Sarah's chest, a warmth washing over her like sunlight breaking through clouds. Perhaps Anna was right. She could breathe again, take steps forward. "Why did you help me?" Sarah asked, finding her voice steadier. "What made you come for me?" "The light always calls," Anna smiled softly. "People like you, those who display resilience, often find their way to us. You're meant for something greater. We're here to help you heal, to help you." The door opened wider, and music drifted through the air, laughter echoing cheerfully. She felt the pull of a life she wanted, the beckoning rhythm of joy. It was terrifying and thrilling. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped toward her new beginning, embracing hope. With Anna at her side, she walked into the sunlit world, a flutter in her heart. Around her, new faces waited, all full of smiles and open hearts. For the first time, she realized she wasn't alone. Each one had their own battle, their own shadows to shed. Together they could forge life anew, moments more beautiful than anything lost. With shared laughter echoing behind her, she let go of the suffocating shadows for good. From this moment on, they would share the journey together, living in the light. No more lurking fears, just endless possibilities. As she stepped forward into a vibrant future, Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of her past slip away, replaced by the strength she had found within herself. She was free. So if you've enjoyed this haunting journey, you need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and help us keep these chilling tales coming. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Flood the section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. And do not wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Let's grow this community of storytellers together.